We're all familiar with ants. They're usually pretty small, but what would it be like if they were this big? Welcome to 1 Minute Bugs. G'day there. Back in the 1950s there were several Hollywood movies that featured giant insects, and chief among those was the 1954 movie Them, which was about giant ants. The clip you saw was from that movie. Even though it was only filmed in black and white, it was still a smash hit. In fact, Them was one of Warner Brothers' biggest movies of that year. And no, I haven't suddenly turned into a film critic. The plot is based on ants receiving a dose of radiation at a nuclear weapons testing facility and mutating into giants.
Born in that swirling inferno of radioactive dust were things so horrible, so terrifying, so hideous. There is no word to describe them.
A later film, the 1957 The Beginning of the End, featured locusts, which also mutated into giants after receiving nuclear radiation. What a classic. Conventional wisdom says these movies played on people's fear about nuclear weapons and fallout and the Cold War and all that stuff. I mean, that may be true, but I reckon something else was at play here. A fear of insects stoked by the pesticides industry. Compare the language in these clips here. Firstly, from Them.
I tell you, gentlemen, science is agreed that unless something is done and done quickly, man, as the dominant species of life on Earth, will be extinct within a year.
Next, Beginning of the End.
We've got to convince them, Audrey. We may be witnessing the beginning of an era that'll mean the complete annihilation of man.
Annihilation?
Annihilation. The beginning of the end.
And finally, DDT.
It begins with the war-born development of DDT. This diabolical weapon of modern science saved millions of humans, but killed billions of insects. Man, with this newly discovered force, has at long last gained the upper hand in our age-old struggle.
Notice they all have similar macho dramatic language about humans facing an existential threat from insects, or, humans fighting some war with insects. Now to some newspaper and magazine ads from the time. They also feature quite a lot of macho and aggressive language, but this one here is just weird, and the French were much more stylish and playful. It wasn't just the advertisers though. Let me read something from an issue of Time magazine in 1952. In his fierce, unending war against the insects, man is getting exactly nowhere. There may be as many as 2.5 million species of insects infesting the world. And in the US alone, about 10,000 of them are public enemies. Night and day they gnaw at crops, bore into homes and warehouses, attack men and animals. I mean, where do I start? 2.5 million species of insects infesting the world? Really? How about 2.5 million species of insects inhabiting the world, along with 1 species of human? As for the 10,000 pests, there are about 100,000 species of insects which occur in North America. And if I could refer to my copy of Garden Insects of North America, and I need to quote page 26, here we go. Management principles for some garden pests. First sentence. The overwhelming majority of arthropods encountered in the yard and garden are of innocuous habit or may even be beneficial. When I'm asked what percentage of insects are actually pests, I usually say something like less than 1% of them. And many of those are only minor pests. The manufacturers of Real Kill, great name for a domestic pesticide, created a very stylish pamphlet available to homeowners. Hints for bug-free living. And most of these products were based on dieldrin, an organochlorine insecticide, or dichlorvos, an organophosphate insecticide, or both. Both of these are now banned in homes and gardens, especially here in Australia. Look at the language on this page. For every human on Earth, there are at least 500,000 insects. If not controlled, insects could take over the Earth, destroying the human race in the process. Oh wow. Insects took over the Earth well before humans arrived on it. I've got a video on that subject right here. And remember that pest insects, or insects that we should be wary of, are in a minority compared to the enormous number of insects out there. Thanks for watching.